Sheriff Bouchard, thank you for taking the time to speak with everybody at RightMichigan today. You made a big announcement earlier this month. You're seeking the Republican nomination in 2010 in the gubernatorial race. Men and women who I know you count as friends who are already seeking this office. So the question is, what sets you apart, and why should folks vote for you?
Well, there are friends of mine that are running, and I intend and hope at the end we're going to be friends as well. We're all very much of the mind that we need to fix Michigan, and I think that this situation demands aggressive, bold action. And the reason I decided to get in isn't that I don't respect the other folks that are looking at it, but it's going to take a very specific skill set to do immediately what's necessary. It's going to take a combination of knowledge, experience, and backbone to make sure that these things happen very quickly. And I have all three of those things, having sat in so many different roles. I was a state senator, the majority floor leader in the Michigan Senate. I chaired or sat on every major committee there. So I know the process, I know the budgets. Every year I was in the Senate, we cut taxes and we balanced our budgets. They haven't done that in quite some time in Lansing. Quite the contrary, they've been going in the wrong direction with taxes and regulatory policies. And the other thing that I have that's very unique is I've also run very large-scale organizations. I mean, I run one of the nation's largest sheriff's departments with over 1,200 employees. And in this very difficult time, obviously I'm in a life and death business, but we've still managed to squeeze savings out of our operations. I've cut almost $21 million in the last 3.5 years. So we've done that, remembering that our core constituency is our customers, our taxpayers, our community. And how do we do that without negatively impacting their service or the services they want? And we've been able to do that. I've got a great team. We put a great process in place, and they have not seen the services or their public safety diminished as a result of these cuts. And those are the kinds of very tough decisions that aren't being made in Lansing. I'll give you an example. The state police headquarters has been plunging forward $40+ million to build, an annual operating cost, lease cost somewhere close to $5 million. And in the same breath that they're getting ready to open this new building, they announced the layoffs of 100 troopers. So what good is a state-of-the-art building when you can't inhabit that building with the men and women that are there to protect you? It really makes much more sense for them to put on hold this operation. They should have done it years ago, quite frankly. The building they have, they pay $1 a year in lease cost. It's a pretty good deal by anybody's measuring stick. And look for ways to fix that building to allow them to stay there through this crisis. And then sometime in the future have a long-term plan to consolidate the state police operations. And frankly, that downtown wouldn't have been the best choice because you can't get all of your joint operations, your emergency operations centers, all those things right there. It would be better to have them all co-located, in my opinion, but they didn't do that. And my point is this: they're laying off 100 troopers and they're opening a new building in the same year. And that doesn't make sense because the people we serve will be seeing a diminishment in the services and the protection as a result of bad choices. Bad decisions continue to crop up day in and day out in Lansing. Lansing is broken, and Michigan won't get back to work until we fix Lansing. That's the bottom line, and I have the skills in both in business. I've been a small business owner, so I understand permitting, I understand personal property tax, I understand what government does to cause a business problems. A government does not create one job, but it creates an environment where you, the men and women, the entrepreneurs, create thousands of jobs. And we've been quite the opposite here in Michigan. And so my personal experience as a business owner, as a person that lead one of the nation's largest police organizations for now over a decade, having been in the Senate for 8 years in the midst of some very important and difficult times where we eliminated assistance to general folks, the able-bodied adults got general assistance. We eliminated that. We did a number of tough changes. I know how to make a tough call and to move forward, and it's going to take that backbone and knowledge to get it done. And I'm also going to tell you this: if the next governor does what's necessary, and I'm going to do what's necessary, there's a good possibility that these holds, because they're so long overdue, won't take effect in a time before the next election. Because if you've been driving down a road the wrong direction for 6.5 years, it's going to take some time to get back to at least your starting point. And so you may not even see all of those things taking hold by the end of the first term. And I'm willing to make those tough calls and to be a one-term governor if necessary, because it's more important we worry about the next generation than the next election.
You mentioned jobs. You mentioned that. I mean, this is a long problem. It's been going on for now 6+ years. Jobs was the issue in 2006. It was the issue in 2008. It's the issue now. The folks have been trying things in Lansing. It's not like they're not there. I mean, there are folks in Lansing in offices, and they say they're trying to create jobs, but it's not working. What needs to change? What needs to happen in Lansing to create jobs? Well,
Lansing's broken. I mean, they may be talking about it, but talk is cheap, as anybody knows in the real world. Talk is different than doing, and action is necessary. And when they had an opportunity to reform the tax system, they instead instituted the Michigan business tax and the surcharge, which has been punishing and crushing the business and driving them from our state rather than drawing them in. I mean, they have not made any positive inroads to bring economic activity here. Clearly, one of the first things you have to do is you have to live within your means. Cut taxes is something I did every year when I was in the Senate. That's an important part. In fact, I was the first gubernatorial candidate to actually sign the Taxpayers Protection Pledge. ATR, American for Tax Reform, said exactly that I was the first person to actually sign that pledge. And I've lived with those kinds of pledges for many years. I don't believe we need more taxpayer money. We need more fiscal discipline. We need to spend less. And so just cutting taxes isn't it at all, because if you go back historically and look, when Ronald Reagan cut taxes, huge amounts of money came into the Treasury, but you had Congress that was spending even faster than it was coming in. So you have to have tax cuts and spending restraint in the exact same moment in time to make an impact, and I will do that.
Now, you announced your candidacy just a little bit after the Mackinac Conference ended, the Detroit Regional Chamber.
Yes.
The candidates who were there at the candidate forum were asked about that tax pledge, the no new tax pledge, and only Mike Cox said he would sign it. None of the other candidates did. You mentioned you've signed it in the past.
I've signed it for this race, and I was the first to sign it for this race.
So
I believe, absolutely. I mean, there is nothing worse you can do to an economy that needs to grow than raising taxes on it. I mean, they've done it once in Michigan recently, and we've seen the outcome. We lead the nation in unemployment. We lead the nation in outbound moves. A recipe for disaster is to raise taxes on those that are left.